Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Nismah Osman. She is an entrepreneur, songwriter, music producer, and as he says, contrarian thinker. Welcome to the show,
Thank
Nismah.
you, Ajay. So excited to be here.
You are welcome to the show. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm
Awesome.
sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk about. We'll be talking about how to build a lucrative career in music, where you will have a lot of cash flow, a lot of freedom in this career. So I want to understand, Nisma, what sort of music career is this? Is it about indie music? Is it about working somewhere? Help us understand, because in terms of the established singers, in the or in industry, a lot of people have already made money, are making money.
Yep.
But about a lot of indie song creators or musicians, they need to earn a lot of money that they rightly deserve. Help us understand. I don't know anything about the music industry. Help us understand. But one thing I want to know for a lot of aspirants is how they can earn a good living
Yep.
by making good music.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely lots of ways you can make money in music, but the route that I have chosen to take and the route which I have found to be the most profitable and the most enjoyable for me has been through licensing my music to film and TV. And that's kind of my main gig right now. It's my main focus in terms of my songwriting and my production. And it's also my main focus in terms of what I do to help other artists figure out their financial path in music. So, yeah, I mean, it's the basic process of writing music and producing music to submit to licensing agencies. They're the kind of the middlemen between your music and the paid opportunities, and getting the music in these agencies' catalogs, and then the agencies will pitch that music for you on your behalf to these paid opportunities. And the idea is with enough music and enough time, you start earning some income. So that's kind of the 411 on it.
Right, Resma. Let's break this down for for
Sure.
someone, say, in India, and they are making good music. It can be any music, Bollywood music, a bit of music that international audience will like, and
Sure.
they have got so many options today, from Patreon to all those places. People are doing what they can. But what is it that they are not doing right? What is it that they don't know about? And that is why they are struggling. Help us understand with the reason. It's a general complaint. You can make good music, but whether you will earn a good livelihood, that is that is difficult to know. There are some people who are making, in terms of indie music makers, but those are very few, and those are big names. They've already established
Yep.
themselves in different platforms, and moreover, you are at the mercy of these platforms. So help us understand from that perspective.
Yep.
How can a simple person sitting in a simple place in India or anywhere earn money from music,
Yep.
without having to bother about too much?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I know that there are so many talented music makers in India and beyond. I have had the pleasure of working with many people from India and Pakistan, and the different parts of the world. And so there's no shortage of amazing talent. What I would say to those folks who have already done the work to kind of set themselves up as a talent in music, I would say it's it's actually a lot closer than you think. So what they're missing, the information they're missing, is how easy and simple it is to actually get in touch with these music licensing agencies. There's very few people that need to be involved. Actually, there's no one else that needs to be involved. As in, you don't need to have a special connection. You don't need to have money to pay them. It's not a pay to play type of structure. So, what I tell people is basically get on Google and just start Googling music licensing agencies in the US, right? And most of them are based in Los Angeles. However, there are many based in Nashville, in New York, in Miami, in Atlanta, really all over the country. They're scattered, but you're going to have most luck if you search within those major music cities. And then you'll find that there's no shortage of agencies. And the other great thing is that they are looking for all types of music. So if you don't necessarily specialize in excuse me, American popular music or Western music, and you specialize more in the Bollywood type of sound, that's great. That's actually gives you an advantage because there are very few people who specialize in that. And if you think about it on a global level, the TV shows and the films and the advertisements uh, that need music, they span such a wide and deep variety of genre, and there's bound to be need for that style of music. So it's great if you can do the Western pop music, and there's obviously lots of opportunity for that. But if you do the Bollywood style, or even just a different style, like a hip hop, or a singer songwriter ballady type thing, that's going to give you a little bit of a leg up because there are fewer people who specialize in those types of music. So that's kind of the first thing I would say is, just if you're curious about this, just start Googling some licensing agencies and submit your music. Most of them accept unsolicited music, which means anybody who comes across their site and their company can submit music to them.
Right, right. So what happens? I submit my music to them, and then uh, even if it's unsolicited, they take it, and what do they do with that in case they accept it?
Yeah. So in the case that they accept it, they will add it to their catalog. So what that means is, they essentially act as a curated library of music that works for film and TV. And so what happens is they work directly with people who are called music supervisors. And it's the music supervisor's job to find the music for the TV show, film, what have you, right? And so these music supervisors, they have developed relationships with these music licensing agencies. And whenever they have a new opportunity, and these supervisors are working on, anywhere from 2 to 20 projects at a time, right? So they've got a lot of opportunities. So they go to the music licensing agencies and they say, hey, for example, I'm working on a Target commercial and I need this type of music, and this is the kind of like the description. And so the agency will then sift through their catalog and they will send them a list of, the 10 best options or whatever. And hopefully your song is on that list of submissions, right? And hopefully it's the song that the music supervisor ends up choosing, and then you get paid. So that's kind of the simple way of how it works. But obviously, the more music you have in the agencies, the better chance you have of actually getting what we call a placement.
Okay, okay. So from music licensing agencies, you have got the music supervisors, and they are in touch with a lot of people in the industry. But
Yep.
is that a formidable thing that can make you plan a formidable career in music, Nisma? Or are there other things that an indie music producer or creator should look at? Because this will be you will be competing with a lot of people. Obviously there will be chances, but it is like it is like trying to write a bestseller, and it is not necessary that it will become a bestseller in terms of so many books getting written. And even if it becomes, it is not necessary that you are going to earn enough for yourself. What I want for indie music producers is, what are other things that they can do in terms of getting a constant cash flow that gives
Yeah.
them, the better money you get. Not that they have to become rich, obviously everyone wants to become rich, but at least that gives them financial freedom. The more freedom you
Sure.
have got, the better music you can. Otherwise, in desperation you start creating different sort of music that even you don't like, or you may
Right.
not want to create that sort of a music.
Right. So, I would say if you don't want to go the music licensing route, which by the way, I mean, you don't have to, you're not writing hit songs. You can write very simple instrumental tracks, or very simple, uh, tracks with vocals as well. Um, and you can team up with other people to help get that done. If let's say you don't sing, or you don't play a certain instrument, and those songs can land you placements time and time again, because you only have to make the song once, right? And then the agency keeps pitching it over and over. But should you decide to explore other options, unfortunately, in music, and with the current music landscape, with streaming kind of being the predominant, sort of player, unfortunately, if you want to make money in music, that way, you're going to really have to invest time, money, and energy into building some sort of following, either on social media, or through an email list of some sort, which it's you would probably have to invest in Facebook ads or in Instagram ads to start generating those leads and sending them over to your Spotify. But even then, the streaming payout, royalties are so low that it would take you a concerted effort and a consistent investment before you would likely see any return on that investment. So, other than that, if you don't want to do the streaming route and you don't want to do the music licensing route, I would say the best chance you have at making money from music is to do session work. So, get really good at a particular skill. So, either playing an instrument, producing music, singing, writing songs or top lines, and then getting on these freelance websites like Fiverr and Upwork and the like, and finding clients that way. And there are a lot of clients in the U.S. who are looking to partner with people in countries like India, just because they can kind of capitalize on the money goes a little further, and so you are more likely to get more work from those types of clients. So I would recommend doing that if you have a particular skill that you're really good at, and just start kind of getting clients that way. If you're just starting out and you don't have reviews or any past clients, one thing I recommend is to do a couple for free, and then do a really great job, get those reviews on your profile, and then hopefully that site will kind of boost you, and you'll start actually being able to charge for your work. But again, that's going to take some time to build. I mean, all of this is going to take time to build. I mean, there's no such thing as overnight success, right? But it just really depends what route you want to take. What are your goals? What resources do you have? How much time and money and energy do you have? And in order to decide kind of what the right path is for you.
Right, right, Nisma. Let's understand the secret of your success. 200 placements, and on above 200 placements on various TV shows, films, and advertisements internationally. So how did you? Did it? Obviously, you just did not wake up one fine morning and found all these things. You worked hard, and obviously with some
Sure.
strategy. So,
Sure.
what were the challenges that you were facing for the breakthroughs? How did you deal with that? That's, I guess, is the initial part is very important. How
Yeah.
did it work for you, so that people can learn that part from you, which will help them.
Absolutely. So, uh, by chance, I actually got my first sync licensing placement when I was 13, and it happened kind of randomly. I was at a singer songwriter showcase, and I played a song, and one of the people at the conference, uh, or it was a songwriting conference. Sorry. He approached me. He was a publisher, and he said, "I think your song would work really well in film and TV, and I want to get it produced, and I want to submit it to opportunities." And I was 13. I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't have, I was just a kid just trying to make music, writing songs for fun. But that kind of started me on this path. And after that happened, that song got placed, and it continues to get me placements today, which is great. And I continue to get residual royalties from that. But after that, I kind of dropped off and focused on, finishing high school and going to college and the like. But then sync licensing came back around to me. I had heard about it on a podcast similar to this, actually, and it reminded me of that time back when I was 13. This is now, almost 10 years later. And then I started diving into it. I took a course. I invested in learning knowledge. I invested in learning production. And then from at that point, it was just trial and error and learning and getting feedback on the music. And it was really just time and consistency, of kind of making music, it not working, getting feedback, making better music, making this relationship here, making that relationship there. And slowly you kind of, it all kind of becomes cumulative until you're kind of at a place where you have enough stuff working for you that it sort of it has this consistency in it. So it was not, one thing and then done. It was really a slow build over time. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way too, which I'm hoping I can help some of you listening now avoid.
Absolutely, absolutely. In terms of, you see, in different industries, television, movies, and advertisement, all these are different, genres of the, entertainment industry. If you can look at it, advertisements are obviously more part of the mainstream industry.
Yep.
So, obviously, how did you deal with this different experienced people, marketing people, advertising people who are very experienced into their line? You are experienced in your music, so how did you deal with them in terms of, contracts, and was there
Yeah.
anyone else who helped you in terms of? Why I ask this is, should music producers, music creators, indie music creators look at someone who can deal on their behalf, or there are some things that they can themselves do, but these are some of the things that they should always keep in mind?
That's a great question, and I'm really glad you asked it because it's one of the first things I cover in my teachings and in my course, and it's the legal aspect of all of this. Because yes, Jay, like you said, there you're entering into a whole different industry, which is the film and TV and ad industry. And I actually always say sync licensing isn't really the music industry; it's the film and TV industry that happens to use music. And the reality of that practically is that they run a really tight ship, right? They cannot have any legal errors because they're dealing with millions of dollars at a time, right? They are paying really good licensing fees. Some of these companies are paying 30, 40, 50, 60, $100,000 per licensing fee. And I'm not exaggerating, right? Now, a lot of the smaller company, TV shows and stuff, they pay more like 500, $1,000. But anyway, they have to have all their T's crossed and all their I's dotted, right? Because they're not playing around. So what that means practically is you as the music maker, you need to have all your T's crossed and all your I's dotted, and you need to know your stuff legally, right? So what that means practically and literally is you need to make sure that you are registered and your music is registered with a performing rights organization. They have one in every country, and they all work together globally to kind of they talk to each other and they share data and information, right? You need to make sure you're not using uncleared samples in your productions. So if you're using a sample library to produce music, you need to read the fine print and make sure you have the right to use it and sell it, right? Because you're going to be selling a license for that music. You need to make sure that if you're working with other people, you have it set out really clearly who owns what part of the song. Because when money starts coming in, right, all of a sudden, oh, well, I own 50% of that song. No, you own 20, right? And then things can start to get really hairy, right? So those are just a few examples of the things that um, you need to be up on if you're going to get into sync licensing. And what I would say is, I don't necessarily think you need to hire anyone. Like, you don't need to hire a lawyer or anything. I would just say you need to do your research. It's better to get guided mentorship, there are lots of great books out there about it. You can hire like a one-time consultant to just kind of explain everything to you. You can take a course such as the one I have, or there are many out there. But just make sure you know what you're doing before you start to do it, because it can shoot you in the foot really quickly.
Right, right, Nisma. I want to understand this word sync licensing.
Yeah.
For me, I have to rack my brains to understand, what is this sync
Yep.
and licensing without any music in it. So help me understand. For I know we have been talking about it. Help us. What is
Yeah.
another word for it so that a simple person can understand? And what is the sync licensing all
Yep.
about? And you talked about that there is so much of money. So what do they do? I give my music, they use my music, they give me my money. Is it about that license, or is something much more deeper than that that one needs to understand?
No, so it's pretty much that, but I'll break it down. So, sync licensing, another term for it is music licensing. So, there's the music piece,
Okay.
right? But the term sync licensing is short for synchronization licensing. So, what that means is, if the law states basically that if someone is using your music for commercial purposes, so again, we'll take the Target example. Let's say Target is running an ad for their back to school campaign and they want to put a song in it. The law states that they need to get permission to use that song from the people who wrote and created the song, and they need to pay a synchronization licensing fee. Synchronization represents the process of synchronizing the music to the video, right? So that's why it's called a synchronization license. And we say sync for short, just because it's a mouthful to say synchronization, right? So that's the basic premise: is the company who wants to use your song to promote their product has to legally obtain a synchronization license to use your music. And that's where the fees come in, because those licenses can cost anywhere from a couple $100 up to a couple $100,000, depending on the song, depending on where the ad, where the song is going to be used, how often it's going to be used. If you think about, for example, if you get a song on a Super Bowl ad, the fee for that is going to be a lot higher, right? Because you're going to reach more people and the music's going to be more valuable in promoting that product, right? So that's the really simple premise of it. And where we come in as musicians is we just say, here's the music, you want to use it, great, give me the licensing fee, right? And so that's kind of, it almost sounds too good to be true, but it really is that simple.
Right, right. Obviously, but isn't this very much clear under copyright laws that if you are using anyone's music, then you need to pay them, especially if you are using it for commercial purposes. For reporting purposes, like they do in journalism, a small bit you can use it as fair reporting purposes. That is fair use
Right.
purposes in terms of, but you cannot use it. Then what is the difference between, then you need to have a contract with them, and why should companies use it without paying money to, or has this been happening that companies have been using music from creators without giving them either credit or money
Oh yeah.
in the past?
It's a yes, it's a huge problem, less in sync licensing because there's a very clear system. But I see it all the time. I mean, you just go to a restaurant and they're playing music. Technically, they're supposed to pay for that music. Nobody does. It's one of
Okay.
those things because it's so hard to implement. It's so hard to track down, and unless you're sending somebody from restaurant to restaurant and making sure, which by the way, the performing rights organizations do. They send people out to local businesses, and if they hear music, they ask, "Hey, did you pay your blanket license?" But again, it's the money, the amount of money that they would make or collect is so insufficient that it would cost them more in legal fees to sue, right? So it's kind of created this culture of like, you know, well, we're just going to use music and not pay for it, right? But that's really only with the small town sort of situations, like I said, restaurants, bars, but when you get into these more corporate level deals, there's not a lot of stealing that goes on just because it's much easier to get caught because you're playing a commercial, thousands if not millions of people are going to hear it. Somebody's bound to say something if they realize, hey, I didn't get paid for that, so
Right, right, Nisma. So, in terms of now, you also help, musicians in this particular thing to help them find success in sync licensing. Help us understand how do you do it? What do you do for clients? How you can so that
absolutely.
your potential clients, if they will listen to this show, they understand. Okay, Nisma is the one they can approach about it. Whatever is it that you provide in terms of your services so that they can get the best help from you.
Absolutely. So if anyone's interested in doing this, how I can help you is this. I've set up basically a 1-year mentorship program. In that mentorship program, I have included a comprehensive course and training with training materials and templates and all that stuff so that you can learn everything you need to know to be successful in sync licensing. That's including the legal stuff, how to write music specifically for sync licensing, how to find good collaborators, how to get your music finished at low cost or for free, and then I give you a year of support. So you have a coach that will kind of help you, give you feedback on your music, and then what I'm really excited about, these two things. So throughout the year, I have set up 4 pitch sessions for you to pitch your music directly to the agencies that I've have relationships with. So these people are going to come in 4 times during that year, and you're going to be able to pitch whatever music you've created to them, and hopefully they'll accept it into their catalog. That's the first thing I'm really excited about. The second thing I'm excited about is that I'm so confident in that I can help you, that if you don't get at least 2 songs signed with an agency by the end of the year, I'll give you 100% of your money back. So there's really no risk to you, right? So that's what I'm so excited about. Now, it's not for everyone. It's for people who are really excited and really passionate about it, people who are committed to finding success in music, people who obviously have the time. So but if that's you, come on and we'll talk, and I'll see if it makes sense for us to work together.
Absolutely. And what is the best way for them to connect with you? Normally, people ask this question at the end, but I
Yeah.
thought this is the best time to ask because we are talking about it,
Yeah.
and then there'll be few couple of more questions that I want to ask you about.
Sure. People, you can go right to my website. It's nismaosman.com/call. And there you can read more about me. And you can just book a call directly with me. It's free. You don't have to give your info or anything. And we could just talk and we can see if it makes sense for us to work together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for the audience, I will certainly put out all the details about Nisma in the YouTube description and show notes so that you can reach directly to her and get help, all that the help that she provides and all the help that you need. Now, moving on to other question in terms
Yeah.
of artificial intelligence and music. Now, this whole new genre has opened. A lot of companies who don't want to pay, now they can pay a bit of money to this online bot created music.
Yep.
What is your understanding? Is it good? Is it bad? You are a songwriter, you are
Mhm.
a music producer. How do you see this? And also, how do you see the trend if people who can make music, but they can get lazy and they start creating music using artificial intelligence, or someone novice or no music sense, but even I can create music and I
Yep.
can start selling and add to all that noise that a lot
Yep.
of people like me can create. Help us
Yeah.
understand then, where is this music thing going? Is it
Yeah.
creating more noise, or is it going to create better music, more music?
I see it going both ways. I see the arguments for both sides. I personally don't have a strong opinion either way, but here's what I'll say about it. If you're considering using artificial intelligence to make music, I would say number one, it's not going to, it may save you time, which is great, and we all love saving time, but unless you are already skilled in music production, it's going to limit you, right? It's going to limit your growth. It's going to limit the understanding that you really need to develop to be a truly masterful music producer and musician. So it's just something to keep in mind. On the flip side of that, though, we use artificial intelligence all the time already. If you have any experience in music production, you'll know that the plugins and the effects that we apply to our projects they use artificial intelligence already. So we're already using AI just in different capacities to increase efficiency. Now on the corporate side or on the receiving end of that, right? I personally know that a lot of companies, a lot of agencies and publishing companies, they are screening for songs that are made with artificial intelligence because they want to put the artists who are making the work with their time in their hands first. So
Okay.
you may run into issues there, right? Um, Not everybody, and that's probably the exception right now, as opposed to it being the rule. But I can see it going that way, where companies are kind of like if you write a paper using Chat GPT, right? A
Right.
lot of schools are choosing to screen against that. So I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I would say try your luck with it, and see how it can help you, but also just be careful because it may end up working against you in the long run.
Right, right. One more question I want to understand from
Yeah.
you, Nisma, is about streaming.
Mm,
Streaming is the simplest of thing that a lot of people think, you go live and you can, and especially for music, it is platforms like Patreon and others, you can just go and create your own audience.
yep.
What is it that some people are able to, only few people are able to find that success? What is it that they can do to make the best of streaming because it is easy for them to do? And secondly, what are the things that they can do but are not able to do? What is it that they should be looking at doing things right so that they can make the best out of streaming? Or and also, are there platforms beyond Patreon that they can look for, which they may not be knowing about, but which must be giving them good returns if they are creating good music?
Yeah. So the thing about streaming, and actually this is in recent news, Spotify, which is the biggest streaming platform in the world, they just announced that they are actually raising their payout threshold for songs, to 1,000 streams minimum. So if your song doesn't have 1,000 streams, you're not going to get paid. Now, 1,000 streams on Spotify equals approximately 3 cents. So it's not a huge loss, but if you have 100 songs that have 999 streams, that's at least a little bit of money that's no longer in your pocket. So I'm saying that to say that streaming is actually getting more competitive, not less
Okay.
competitive. Um, but if you want to pursue that route and you want to really try your luck at streaming, then I would say you have to be extremely consistent with posting on social media. And that takes a lot of time and energy, right? Because you're making content, you're filming yourself, you're talking, you're editing the videos, you're posting them, and you need to be really consistent, posting at least once a day, at least 3 or 4 times a week, right? So it's an investment, but I have seen people find success with that method, if they choose to get on TikTok or Instagram. And I think most people are discovering new music on Instagram and TikTok. If you have the resources, uh, I would recommend running Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok ads. Now, the thing about that though is it's a long game because you're not going to see the return on your investment on those ads from streaming for a really long time because of how low the streaming payout royalty rates are, and ads are expensive to run. So you're really looking at a long-term investment, depending on what you can afford, before you really start to see a return on streaming, because Spotify has an algorithm like every other platform, And once they see that your music is getting a little more attention because of the traffic from the ads, they'll start to boost you, put you on some playlists, boost you in the discover weeklies and stuff like that. And that's when you can really start to see some streams roll in. But like I said, that's a long-term game, long-term investment strategy. Now, if you want to take a shortcut, or I won't say a shortcut, but I would say if you want to take the path less traveled, then I would say try to run ads, Facebook, Instagram ads, but instead of sending them to Spotify to stream your music, get their email address, right? Start a lead generation funnel, we call it in the marketing world,
Right.
where you're actually collecting the contact information of your fans so that you can then sell them other things down the line. And the idea with that is there's a book, I forget who wrote it, but it's based on the concept of having 1,000 true fans that pay you $100 a year each, and that equals $100,000 a year, right? That's a healthy income, right? So the idea is if you run these lead generation campaigns on TikTok or Facebook and Instagram, you could do this for free too. You don't have to run ads, but ads definitely speed up the process. The idea is that instead of sending people to Spotify, you collect their email addresses and then you sell them on other things. So if it's, you can send them to your Patreon, or you can sell them merch, or you can sell them, concert tickets if you're performing live, or people are still doing online concerts, and I think people like that. So that's kind of when you can have that direct business relationship with your consumer. So and hopefully they'll stream your music too, right? So that's really what I would say to the streaming piece.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for all this information, especially about sync licensing. I'm
Yeah.
sure all this information, whether it is artificial intelligence creators or whether they are real creators, I can tell you this information will certainly be music to the ears of everyone.
Yes, love it.
With this, with this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for
Thank
joining
you.
us.